Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so this is a video that I've been kind of holding off on making because I didn't want it to take basically I don't want to go into ToA 150 and have it take over an hour and get a white light 'cause I already know what's going to happen. But in today's video, regardless, I'm going to be doing a zero gear, zero stats, or minimal stats, minimal gear ToA guide video. And I'm actually going to be kicking it down to the minimum right now. So I see a lot of people who come out with ToA guides basically and what they do is they say you can complete ToA at this invocation level with this gear, but I'm going to use this gear. And they go in there with full Masori twisted bow and they make it look really easy, right? So I'm going to show you what an actual ToA 150 with low stats and low gear would look like. This is what I was doing when I was like level 70 stats and level 80 combat. I've done like 200 ToAs, and from those 200 ToAs, I've literally went from like 70 attack and strength to 82, 86, 72 range to 85 range. Literally, the only skill I have not gained XP in is magic because the trident gives like literally no XP for its damage, and you don't really hit a lot with the trident anyways inside of ToA. But with that being said, let's get into this. Let's go over the gear first. So the first thing I'm going to go over is universal gear, right? And universal gear is gear that we can wear between every single spec. And that is going to be your Nessie helm, your Barrows gloves, your dragon boots, your amulet of fury. Let me see if there's anything else. Just off the top of my head, we'll throw these on and we'll check out our gear. Also the rings. So there's a couple options for rings. I would personally recommend Ring of the Gods. I think this is a really overpowered ring. It's definitely, in my opinion, better than the DK rings. I guess it's kind of debatable if the ring is imbued. But even imbued with this, I mean, 8 prayer bonus with Holy Wrench effect is just really strong, especially whenever you're learning something or doing a long grind. It helps save supplies. And you know, the max hit from the Berserker ring is nice, but at the end of the day, it's maybe like only going to save you a minute out of the whole raid. You'd have to run like 100 raids to actually like benefit in a way that the Ring of the Gods wouldn't benefit you in, right? Depending on how you really look at the game. Um, but for the purpose of ToA itself, the Lightbearer is the best in slot ring, and I would highly recommend getting a Lightbearer if you're not or if you're like an Iron Man and you don't have a Lightbearer or a Fang, then what you probably want to do is run entry modes until you get one, unless you have decent gear. Then I would just hop straight into 150s or 300s. Like if you have a Bofa set, it's not really going to matter if you don't have, a Lightbearer. Same thing if you have, like a really good magic setup, ancestral robes with a toxic trident or like a nightmare staff or something like that. That's something else entirely too, right? So this is what I would consider our universal gear, right? And like I said, you could bring any Dagonoth ring, Ring of the Gods. It's not really going to matter, but Lightbearer is going to be the best in slot ring, and it's really going to be one of the most expensive items that we bring. If we turn the PK skull on, this is 5 mil gear, and like I said, this is just the universal gear, right? So now we're going to go into the gear for each spec. So if we're looking at melee, right, if you don't have Bando's chestplate, because it's like a 30 mil item, or a rare drop for Iron Man to get, then obviously you would just stick with Fighter Torso. The main upgrade between the two is just a higher defense bonus. I am pretty sure they both give melee strength. The Bandos chestplate does give a prayer bonus as well, so that's something to keep in mind. But the defense bonuses are significantly higher, which does help on a couple of the fights. It helps on Akka. It helps on Kefri whenever you have to tank range damage, or when you're wearing melee gear but tanking like melee attacks on Akka, it helps. There's a couple strategies and stuff I'll go over too, but in general, Fighter Torso, and then I'd go with personally any Barrows plate legs, plate skirt, etc. Chain skirt, Guthin's chain skirt, Varric's plate skirt, Torag's legs, any prayer. Any Barrows, pants. This one in particular has really high defense bonuses, the Varric's plate skirt, and it also has a really big prayer bonus. So if we compare this to Tassie's, these are like significantly better than Tassie's in terms of survivability. You get a much higher prayer bonus, much higher defense bonus, and you only lose 2 melee strength, which really isn't significant at all. Now, just so you guys can see, I do have, we have Masori, we have the BGS, we have, another BGS hilt, we've got a Shadow, we've got pretty much everything and anything that you could need to do like 500 TOAs almost. Definitely 350s, I'd say, like at the minimum in terms of pushing it. But like I said, this is just going to be, the simple guide. So we'll go into the stab weapon because obviously for ToA you want a stab weapon, and you can just use a dragon sword. I've seen people do this with a dragon spear. So again, it's not the end of the world. And then obviously the cape for melee is fire cape. I'd recommend bringing a cape switch because you're going to be bringing Ava's Assembler anyways, so you may as well bring a cape switch for magic too, just so that you can stay consistent when switching between all three specs and have the same amount of swaps each time. It makes jumping through your inventory much easier. Anyways, this is, like I said, this is the melee setup that I would go with for a budget setup. Then we'll go into the range, and for range you can really use Black Dragon Hide. I'm going to use Blessed Hide because I don't think I even have Black Hide chaps right now, so we're just gonna go with the Blessed Hide. It is gonna help a little bit. Blessed Hide, like if you're on an Iron Man, it's relatively cheap for non-Iron Man, and for Iron Man, like if you're doing your clue scrolls, by the time you get to ToA, it's very likely you're gonna have a couple pieces of Blessed Hide, right? And so you want to bust those out. And then obviously we take the Ava's Assembler, the Rune Crossbow, and in terms of bolts for range, you are going to want ruby bolts for the bosses, and then I recommend bringing a bolt switch. Because this is a budget setup, I'm going to take broad bolts. I do have some runite bolts, and then group members have other bolts as well. But we're going to take ruby bolts and then broad bolts for our switch. And so this is what the range setup is looking like right now. I'm actually going to swap this rune crossbow for the ornamental one because I forgot that I had it, and then I'm going to grab an unholy book as well. So for the offhand for the rune crossbow, you can either use unholy book, you can use armadillo book. If you're bringing thralls and you have Book of the Dead for a mage book, then you can definitely bring armadillo book as an offhand swap too. But remember, and I'm always going to emphasize this, the more switches you bring, the less supplies you can bring, and it is going to make the raid more difficult. Also, in terms of melee gear, I did forget to mention we do need a special attack weapon, which is going to be the DDS for the Warden's fight. And we're also going to need the Keris Partisan. I am going to bring the yellow Keris Partisan in because it's what I normally use. Actually, you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I will dismantle this yellow Kerosene just for this run. We'll go in without the yellow Keris, and I will show you guys what a typical run looks like for me. Okay, cool. I just had to make sure I had super restores to be able to do that, because I'm going to have to take bruising instead, but we'll take these, and I'll show you guys, what a run typically looks like. With the Saradomin Bruise and the super restores with no Keris. So we'll deposit these super restores real quick. So now we still have our magic setup, and for magic, again, with the budget setup, we're just going to go with Mystic Robes, and I think I have the ornamental Shattered Relics or whatever it is, Trailblazer one. I just got this today. Spent my league points, so that's pretty nice. And then we're gonna go with the Trident, and you can use Iban's staff with Iban's Blast, but I really wouldn't recommend this because you're gonna have like a hell of a time on Wardens, as well as Akka. The Trident barely hits as is, so it's really just there so that you're doing something while you can. But I wouldn't rely on Trident DPS or anything. And you're going to find me swapping to melee a lot throughout the raid too, because it just tends that I hit more with melee regardless. So anyways, we have the Mystic Robes, the Trident, and then like I said, I'd bring a cape swap for magic. You can bring a rune pouch too. If you're bringing Thralls, bring a rune pouch for Thralls. If you're bringing Ancients, bring a rune pouch for Ancients. Divine Rune Pouch helps a lot because you can bring Blood Runes. You basically bring runes for Barrage and Blood spells. And let's see, what else is there? Yeah, if you're on the normal spell book, you can bring Tangle, Snare, those runes. If you're on Lunar, you can bring Cure Me spell and not have to worry about taking Antidote or Sandfew into the raid, so that's something to think about. But just off the bat, this is the inventory. This is what we are going to head into the 150 with, and let us pull out some other supplies. So I'm going to need a Sandfew, and these are just general supplies I'd recommend. So the first thing we're going to need is a Sandfew, and I'm actually going to bring 2 in with this gear setup. And the reason why is because my DPS is so low that it is possible that I will need to take more than 1 Sandfew sip on particular fights, right? So we're going to take 2 doses or two full Sandfews in, right? That is going to be our first supply drop, and then we're going to bring in a super combat. I don't have super combats right now, so I'm going to bring in a super set. We're going to bring in a super attack and super strength and not worry about the defense because I'm going to have bruise, so it shouldn't really matter. We are also going to bring a ranging potion. That is absolutely necessary. And we're going to bring Ceradomin Brews. We'll bring like 6 of these or maybe 7 with the gear that I have. And then we'll bring a bunch of restores, right? And I'm thinking I have 3 restores. We'll deposit one of these and take 2 prayer potions. And this should be a pretty decent setup. You might find that you're perfectly fine on prayer, and so maybe you need to take more brews. It's kind of going to be different for every single person, but like I said, this is the gear setup we're going with. This is range, this is melee, or put the D sword on, and then this is mage, and hopefully I stop lagging and I can actually get my gear on. But this is going to be mage, and then we'll use the unholy book for bull specs. And we're going to head into this raid right now, right? So we're going to make a party, and then we're going to come to invocations, and I'm going to go over the invocations real quick with you guys because I'll explain stuff as we go. I have hardcore run on a diet, lively larvae, blowing mud, aerial assault, not just ahead, RTO splay, blood spinners, blood thinners, sorry, 4 Baba invocations, overclocked 1 and overclocked 2. And the couple notes I can say for this is a lot of these invocations are really free for solo. I'm going to go over them as we go. If you're not, like, if you have really good gear and good stats, you can even turn on a diet off sometimes and just take food in, especially on a 150. It's not the worst. There are a couple invocations I'd stay away from, which are any Akka invocation unless you're confident and you enjoy it and you like doing them. Because once you learn them, they're not that bad, but they're probably like some of the harder invocations to actually learn. Same thing with more overlords. With this gear and these stats, I would never turn more overlords on because you're just going to struggle with it and have trouble killing certain monsters or mobs or whatever. On Kefri, and then the other one is Ancient Haste. With the gear setup like this, you are definitely never going to kill the obelisk fast enough, and you're going to run out of brews. And unless you can dodge everything in the final phase of Wardens, it's very likely that you will just run out of supplies. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. With that being said, we're going to run into this 150 and get started, right? So we're going to start with Zebak. That's the boss order that I like to go in first. Personally, I think it's the way that everything works out best. We're going to run in here. I'm going to hit my vape real quick, which you guys probably didn't want to know or need to know, but I'm going to do it. I'm actually not going to do it. I'm just going to start, I guess. We're going to drop something, and in this room it's really important to just have a good rhythm. And if you go at this pace and this speed, these spikes will always come out at that same timing right there. So now we just need to avoid this one here. When you start running, you'll never take damage from that third spike. Even though it looks like you're going to, you never will. And it's going to be the same every single time. So anyways, we put that in there. Now we're going to come here and we're going to hit this croc. And because I don't have the best gear, right? And it's very likely that I'm going to splash a bunch, and I also don't have like entangle or snare. We're going to block the croc, and so this is actually possible to do. If you stand in front of the croc like that, you can completely block him. I'm going to take damage here. That wasn't, that was unintended. I meant to skip over the green tile, but I didn't. And right here, we're going to try to run, but probably take damage, and we didn't. And so right there, it's just, once you do this room a bunch of times, you're going to notice that there's patterns to these spikes. They always go in the same pattern. From the moment you walk in the room, they're on a set pattern and a set rotation. The only thing that's different is the floor stuff, right? So there's some patterns, like you'll know if there's a spike that shoots out at the end and one that shoots out at the front, you should know that you're always going to get hit if you try to run through that. And so you should just never try to run on that one, right? Anyways, we are on to Zebek now. Don't ever forget to pick up that potion. I don't have a BGS to spec him down, so right here we're just going to drink the ranging potion, run in and start hitting him. And I'm going to show you guys what an average Zebek kill looks like. So we're at 140. Obviously I didn't go fast enough to get the combat achievement or anything. And I would really honestly recommend to, at the minimum, try to flick your eagle eye here. Okay, well that was just really unfortunate, but whatever. I don't know why my character like bugged out like that. But anyways, like I was saying, try at the minimum to flick your Eagle Eye here because you're going to be kind of drained on supplies. The other thing is that you don't need to worry 100% about curing Zebek's poison because it only ticks for 2 damage and it eventually goes down to 1, right? So I don't want to cure it right now with the Sandfew. I want to wait until my Sandfew is going to restore enough prayer, right, for it to actually matter, because right now it's just a waste. Anyways, in terms of the invocations that we turned on, right, there is an invocation with the blood magic. So you guys just saw one of that. Every time Zebek, and I'm getting good procs here, but every time Zebek turns red underneath him, he's going to either spawn blood spawns or damage you with like a blood barrage spell that will heal him, right? So this isn't really that bad on a solo because you can't stack the damage. It really only does like 6 damage. It heals him for the same amount, but he rarely casts it, right? So over the course of a whole fight, he might heal, 30 health on a good day for him. Now right here, this is kind of doomed. Try to just hit that there. And we're just going to focus on praying, right? So that's the first mechanic, is the blood spawns. And then there's another one. The 5-point invocation is that Zebek's blood spawns will be split into 3, right? Which, so you guys haven't even seen the blood spawn yet because it's like I said, you only get it like once or twice a fight. Even doing this with absolutely no gear. Here's the second wave. You can only ever get 4 waves max on Zebek, so that's something to keep in mind. If his health doesn't get low enough here, he will have another wave. But if it does get low enough, he won't have another wave. It's based on like when he enrages and what percent health he's at. Right, so I think this is the 3rd wave. Maybe this is the 4th. This might be the 4th wave. Um, but if you're like, for example, if you got that wave right there and then procced 4 times, he's not going to do another wave right after. This is the blood magic spawn. They always spawn on one side of the room, and then they are literally like, if you just run them to the other side of the room, you're perfectly fine. So unless upset stomach is on, you never have to worry about that invocation, if I'm being 100% honest. And there we go, there's the magic one. So if you're fast enough, you can actually change to protect magic and avoid the damage. I just missed a prayer. So yeah, right here I'm gonna try as hard as I can to avoid taking a sip of my restores or my prayer potions because it's really important. You can see he just hit me with the blood spell there and healed, and it damaged me. So I have like 7 health. He could potentially kill me with a blood spell, but the chances are he won't. It only hits 6 or 7. I'm hoping I can just kill him now. I have 7 health, but it usually hits like 6 more than it hits 7. And there we go. Here's another blood orb spawn, right? And Zebek is almost dead, so just want to focus on killing him. And again, like I said, do not panic eat or anything on this fight. You don't need to. Just let your health drain. You're not going to die unless you're like 5 health and he uses a magic blood barrage spell on you and you're off prayer, right? It only hits for like 5 or 6. It's nothing to worry about. This boss, there's a bunch of free invocations to turn on to get a bunch of free points. For 5 minutes in the raid, we already have Zebek down. So, this is a pretty good start. We are going to proceed and carry on. Now the next boss we're going to do is Kefri, and I would really highly recommend Runelight for this puzzle room here, as well as the Akka puzzle room too. But anyways, whenever I'm in a solo, I try to avoid this pillar puzzle as much as possible. I don't have a 117 on, so I can't, like if it's in the second room, I can't see which side it's on. But this is the only puzzle you're going to risk taking damage on. It can take really long. It can be faster than that one puzzle I was doing, but something to keep in mind is that it takes good RNG for that. This is like consistently the same amount of time every single run. And so yeah, that's just something to think about. Now when you get to this one, you only have to flip over 4 of the ones, because like I know this last one's boot, which is green, right? So I can do this. You can actually get the combat achievement here if you get lucky and can match the first 2 right off the bat. On a solo, I don't know if that combat achievement like can be done, if it has to be done on a duo trio or what, but anyways, we're just going to keep running. We know this one over here is W because it's the only one not flipped.
And then we activate knives and knives, and we're done. Should be like a minute, 10 seconds. A minute 11, not bad. So now we're on Kefri, and again, this boss doesn't really matter in terms of your gear, but you will notice with the Bandos chestplate that you're going to take a lot less damage from Agile Scarabs and just range and melee attacks in general, right? So that extra defense bonus does help significantly. And Tacit's, like Varric's plate skirt here helps a lot more than Tacit's do. You're going to be able to tank a lot more damage. You wouldn't think so with like 20 defense bonus difference, but it really is the case. I can tell you as someone who's actually like done these raids a bunch with a fighter torso, and I've tested a bunch of gear. Definitely not the best to wear. Like Barrow's gear is infinitely better here. Same thing on Akka. Damage doesn't really matter because you're not getting accuracy, right? It doesn't matter how hard you hit if you're not hitting, and because those items don't have an accuracy boost on them too, it's not really that important. Anyways, we're gonna run in here. If you're out of run, it'll reset when you go in there. But anyways, we're gonna drink this super set, and then we're gonna start beating on Kefri here. And I've already wasted a couple minutes just talking about this. But anyways, the invocations that we have for Kefri, so the first one is Aerial Assault, and you don't actually lose any DPS from this one. So basically all these bombs are 3x3s, and on a solo this one's like pretty easy and free. Also we want to turn on Piety right here when we're attacking. So the first one is Aerial Assault. Basically everything including the kamikazes and that main attack will be a 3x3. But like I said, you don't actually lose any DPS because the delay between your attacks is the same amount of time it takes to run those 3 tiles. Whereas if you're only moving 1 tile every time, there's like a delay between your attacks, right? So that's something to keep in mind. The other invocation is this one right here, right? So we have Blowing Mud. This does nothing on a solo. But this invocation, the Agile Scarab one, which is a 5.1, basically all these eggs are going to spawn more Agile Scarabs. So I always try to kill 3 of those right off the bat. You're going to see we get 3 Agile Scarabs right here. And this is when you want to start praying range. You don't want these guys to tear you apart at all before you get to the second intermission. After the second intermission phase, you can turn your prayer off, let them take you to low health, and then turn it back on to try to conserve prayer pots, right? But right here, we just want to focus on getting the boss down. Then right here, we're going to kill this scarab here. And this guy will poison us, and the poison here is a lot worse than on Zebex, so you kind of do want to cure this, and it just so happens that a majority of the time you will actually have plenty ability to kill that guy. Or not kill that guy, but restore your prayer, not lose Samfu, whatever. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. But anyways, we're going to try to kill these guys. Chances are without a blowpipe or my trident or whatever else, Kefri's an overheal. It's no big deal. It happens. There's not much I can do about it with this gear and this setup. But we're going to keep hitting Kefri. Just pay attention to our prayer. Make sure it doesn't drain. More overlords is really difficult on this invocation because on a 150 with this gear and these stats, because it just so happens that you don't hit very often when there's like more than one scarab. I don't know why, but they have a lot of health. They're hard to kill. There's 3 of them. You're getting hit non-stop by like melee. There's a chance to get hit by mage, so it can be really deadly. Also, I don't think I killed any of those agile scarabs there, which was a mistake. I should have killed 3 more eggs. I'm just talking, so I wasn't paying attention. But anyways, going back to the Blowing Mud invocation. So Blowing Mud is really free. At the end of the day, Blowing Mud on a solo, I don't think it does anything except make Kefri use that attack more often in the last phase of the fight, or maybe it uses the attack more often, but as long as you stand on a diagonal every single time, it'll never take up space in the room. So now we ran out of prayer, so we're going to turn it back on. And here we go, back on the diagonal. And you can see, I mean, I haven't even used up space in the room yet. This is the intermission. We're going to kill this Arcane Scarab first. And the way that this guy works is that if you hit him 3 times over like 3 damage, he'll teleport to the other side of the room. Or if you hit him above a 40 1 time. So it's kind of confusing. He's basically like a World of Warcraft mage who's using Blink every time you try to kill him. But he's like has slow reaction time and he's stupid. And he dies half the time. So it's like your typical World of Warcraft mage player, right? Kind of synthesized into one fight. Now, thank God Kefri didn't actually overheal here. I'm going to drink another sip of Restore. and I probably didn't have to do that. But right here, this is what I was saying. Right here, we're just going to tank these agile scarabs until we get to low health, and then we can turn our pair back on. And we can actually avoid using piety here, because if I use piety, the way Kefri works is Kefri's defense gets higher the longer the fight goes on. So even though piety is going to help you hit more often, I'm going to end up using like literally a whole prayer potion from here on out the rest of the fight just to kill Kefri. So I'd rather use significantly less prayer points and just have it take longer and have more supplies, right, than trying to do whatever I'm doing here. Now I just almost DC'd there and could have died from like an exploding stack, but it's fine. It's the last time I can get knocked back on this diagonal. It's also really important to know, like right here, when Kefri gets, like, I can no longer stand on this tile. If I do and Kefri shoots this 3x3 at me, while I get knocked back, I'll get knocked back into the 3x3 and I'll die. And it's actually happened to me before. So like right there, I could have gotten knocked into it. I don't know why my guy does this all the time. I didn't take damage there, but... And this is kind of a bad place to stand, is right here. I'm good here, but you can see like right here, it's gonna start doing that special attack pretty frequently, the knockback one. So now I can just stand on this diagonal. I could have gotten one more here, but I didn't really like having to run around the corner every time. That's just how aerial assault is. And if you really want, like I could have used my super attack and super strength again this fight because I would have gained like 20% DPS towards the end. So I could have taken another sip, or you could just bring like a divine potion if you really want. But those are the first two bosses down, right? And so now we just have Akka, Baba, and Wardens, which are the hardest fights. I always do Kefri and Zebak first because they're the easiest fights, and that's just what I learned and what my group's always done. So I stick with it because it's what works best for me, right? So, yeah. We're going to put these super strength, super attacks, ranging potions in here. Another little tip, I guess, for those who don't know, you can deposit any extra potions or supplies you have into this deposit bot by using them on it. Now right here, and this is why we take 6 brews in and all these supplies, and again, I've only used like 2 sips of Samfu and I guess 2 sips of prayer potion. Yeah, I really haven't used a lot. So right here I always take power, and I could take chaos here because there are 2 salts, but I would lose the liquid adrenaline, and given the fact that I don't have certain gear, it's very possible that wardens will not be possible without liquid adrenaline. So I'm just going to take liquid adrenaline. It'll help, you know, at the very least. I can dump dragon sword specs into the wardens at the very end of the fight, and I can like guarantee a 3-phase instead of a 4-phase in the actual wardens fight itself on the 2nd phase, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But keep in mind that if your chaos does have 2 salts, you can normally take chaos. I wouldn't take chaos if it only had 1 salt, right? I'm just gonna go power here though. Could be the death of me, could be my doom, but you know, you'll never know unless you try it, right? So we're gonna take power. 6 brews should be plenty. I typically use like 2 to 3 brews on Akka. I might use more this time because of my gear. And yeah, then the rest are just for the monkey puzzle room. Baba doesn't really do damage. I don't want to jinx that, but he typically does not. Grab these mirrors here. We're going to work backwards every time we're in this room while trying to avoid the balls, but if you work backwards, you're going to avoid the light too, right? So it's like a 2-in-1. Mine this, step over here, wait for the light to go off, and then do this, because my true tile would have actually been on top of the light. I would have taken damage there if I kept running. And then we can run here, put this back down. It's already facing the right way, so we want to get away just in time, and then start hitting this right away. And the goal here is to 2-phase this, which you can always do with the dragon pickaxe, but with the rune pickaxe, it's totally RNG, and it's really annoying actually. How close it is every time. I really wouldn't mind if it was like a clear difference. Like if it was like 50 health off from, you know, getting it to phase, that'd be fine, but very often it's like 3 to 5 health off from 2-phasing it. I might get hit by this ball here. Nope, I was one tile ahead of it. Um, so yeah, I think this is the worst designed puzzle room in the entire raid. I think the rest of the puzzle rooms are awesome. I think it'd be cool if less people used RuneLight, and I think it'd be a lot more fun if people actually like tried to figure the puzzles out and learn them, which they don't. Right? People are just care about the bosses, even though the bosses don't even drop loot. The only thing that drops loot is a chest at the end of the raid. We'll face this the other way and then turn it so that I can try to two-phase this, but you have to like get every hit, which means I have to be next to this thing. And I just DC'd again, so it's probably not possible. If I hit all, like I can hit one more, yeah, see I hit an 8, so I only get 3 more hits. So even if I hit 10s, and this is the frustrating thing, I'm going to get one more hit. Well, I started attacking late, but I could have gotten one more hit, it would have been at like 3 health. But yeah, I think that, like I said, this is the worst designed room in this entire thing, just the way everything scales. And the way the puzzle works, the fact that almost everything on a solo is like 4 mirrors, and it's the same on a duo, you rarely get the 1 mirror. And so it's just frustrating having to do 3 phases here, because you almost always run out of run energy, and yeah, it's just annoying. It's not that bad this time, but I will always like complain and rant about this room, because it's not really, like I said, it's poor design. It's a bad room. Alright, here we'll face the mirror the right way. We didn't take any damage, which is good. Akka is going to attack us with melee and have us attack it with mage when we first go in there, so we can put on our mage gear with any downtime that we have. We can deposit our pickaxe and we can jump into Akka. Now right here, I'm going to pull out a salt, and we have enough salts. I guess I didn't mention the reason why we do this is to have 4 sips of salt, which is 32 minutes of salts. It's enough for the rest of the raid since I have a hardcore run on, and there's no chance I'm going to die. Well, I mean, I might die, but if I die, like, I have to restart. It's not like I lose the salt and I keep going. But we can salt for all of Akka, part of the monkey room, resalt in the monkey room, have it for Baba, and then have 2 salts for wardens, right? So we're going to pop 1 salt right here, and then I don't butterfly or do anything fancy for Akka. What I do though, is I do kite Akka around the room. We got to make sure my run's on. Jeez. I do run him around in a circle until the first shadow, so that I can change my gear. Mystic robes have no defense bonus, so like he's going to hit you really hard and accurately and consistently right here if he manages to hit you, right? So you don't want Akka to hit you at all right here. I mean, that's your goal, is to minimize the amount of damage you take. You don't care about how much damage you do. All you're trying to do is get him to, well, I guess it doesn't matter how much damage you do, but basically you're just trying to get him to phase into the shadow thing, get your melee gear on, so that you have higher defense and you can actually tank his hits, and then the melee setup. And I don't know why I think this is a Mexican server or something, because everyone was speaking Spanish, or Brazil or whatever nationality. But anyways, we're going to start hitting this guy, and now we can do this, and we can put our melee gear on, right? We have increased defense, we're going to hit harder. I don't know why that is, but I mean, you can see I'm hitting 35. So my max hit with mage is 28, right? So ice, fire, death, fire. And now, because I did this, Akka is going to come out and already be in the melee phase, and so I can just start really taking down Akka, right? And I don't have Bando's God Sword or anything fancy like that, so right here I can literally just like D-sword spec Akka if I want. Keep hitting Akka, and that's all there really is to it, right? I'm going to take a bit more damage because I have lower defense than I normally would, but that's just part of the game, right? Oh, someone in the guild just maxed. I'm muted though, so I can't say grats. Anyways, now Akka's on range, right? And so we swapped to our range gear, and I wasn't paying attention. We put our ruby bolts on because he's still high health, so we can proc. And right here, the goal is to just phase Akka. And this is going to be the longest, most boring, hardest fight to do with low gear and low stats. It's harder than Wardens, it's harder than Baba. The RNG on it, and just, yeah, it's really frustrating and really annoying. Anyways, now we're back on mage, so it's lightning, ice, lightning, death. So we put our mage gear on. My inventory's messed up right now, so I need to fix that. Like, we need to put this here, this here, this here, Now we're back in this phase, and we have a DPS check here. Basically, we have to kill this shadow before the timer, and I don't even know what the timer is. My prayer just ran out, and I got a chance to hit a 0, so that's good. And I'm actually literally going to spec this because I need this thing to die. I don't want it to slam the ground again. Right, and so boom, there, it's dead, and there's the special attack right there, right? So that was a really close timer. You don't want to get hit by the special attack. If you do, I guess it's not the end of the world. It is like half of a brew or 3 sips of a brew that it's going to take to heal back up, though. Now we're in the range phase. We can turn our prayers on. Fire, ice, lightning, death. And sip some more prayer potion. And I just procced, but he's about to phase. I knew that too. I was looking at it to just double check and see. So we swap our bolts for this guy. I'm just going to range this guy. My range isn't the worst. Well, I don't know. We'll hit him with melee because I got to hit this DPS check too. So I'm going to spec him and everything. Right, and there we go. He's dead. Now Akka's melee again. My inventory is like really messed up. I don't know why this keris is right here. It needs to be like over here. And like I said, I splash a lot with magic. We're not going to butterfly. We're not going to do anything fancy. I don't even have tile markers set up. I think it's like what? It's here. No, it's here. Death, lightning. Anyways, now we're back on melee, right? So we can put our melee gear on. Protect from range, hit. He's in a phase pretty soon, and I'm probably going to have to do a full nother rotation before I can actually get into the last phase. Just, you know, it is how it is. Now right here, he swapped again. I'm going to stay melee though, because I'm confident I can kill this thing faster in melee. Hopefully at least. I'm not really hitting on it. And I'll probably end up getting hit by the special here, but that's fine. This is what I have 6 brews for, is for stuff like this. Death Lightning, Death Lightning. The only reason I knew it was Death Lightning was because I didn't see the first 2, and the Lightning was the second one, so. But yeah, that's what it looks like when you fail a DPS check, and it's a lot less, you know, forgiving. I missed that too, and now we're back on Mage, and this is like really bad Akka, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, I'm showing you guys how it's done. Now we're gonna brew back up and make sure we are 100% health going into this last phase, and that is pretty important. He's going to hit us a bunch right here because it's magic, and then we should be able to phase him when he swaps to melee, which is right now. And like I said, you just want to make sure that you are topped off going into this very last phase. Hopefully I can phase him here before he... And now here we can actually put the keris partisan on because he's below 25% health, and we should be able to hit fine with it. Just got to dodge the orbs here. And on a 150, this really isn't that bad. We have an orb coming here. We'll wait for it to get to us and then run through it. And then we'll start hitting this here. And I didn't mean to get hit by that one, but I did. And there's Akka dead, and I still have literally like pretty much all my supplies minus a couple restores. I think I used like 2 brews there, but I didn't even need to take that last sip. It was just an emergency sip because I think I was dead if I got hit by one more orb. The yellow keris definitely helps a lot here. You don't have to worry about dying at all. But that is, that's Akka. And now we're on to Baba, right? And Baba is pretty simple. Um, I think I've went over this before. The puzzle room in other videos. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna salt right away in here, but I'm gonna salt like 2 minutes in because I don't know if I'll have it all for Baba if I salt right away. So we'll wait a couple minutes and then we'll pop the salts. But the monkey room is pretty simple. You start with mage and then you're attacking with range or melee and then praying the opposite. Like mage or range, whatever. If you use melee, you pray range, or pray mage. If you use range or mage or whatever, yeah, I don't know. You guys will see. I'll show you guys. So right here, we have to make sure the inventory is good to put the salt down here so I don't accidentally misclick it, and then we're going to get like a monkey spawn over here. Sometimes it's right there. We're going to kite these guys so we don't have to pray right away, right? And then we're going to throw on like our melee gear. We have vents, right? So we use this, and then the mage is there, thrower's here, so we're going to kill the thrower, right, and then throw on our range gear, kill the mage, and then leave on our range gear, and we're going to kill this shaman over here, and after we kill the shaman, we will kill these guys, and we're praying melee right here, right? Now we can kill this thrall before we kill these melee guys so that we don't have to worry about those building up. Now we have 2 throwers and volatile. So what we can do here is bring the volatile to one of these throwers. And we get a mage right here as well. And thank God I managed to kill that guy with that. Anyways, we have the mage. Kill the mage, pray mage. Don't be dumb like me and not pray mage. It'd help if I had my range gear on too. Kill this guy. We have another volatile right here. Kill this guy. I did not mean to run over that poison, but that is why we bring 2 doses of Samfu in. And then we have these throwers here, right? So we're going to pray range. I can't hit that one. This is why Ancients and also just the Bind spell or Entangle or whatever help a lot. Is for this room specifically to freeze these guys or root them. It helps a lot. Like I can't chase after this guy. He's dead anyways. Doesn't matter. Now we have another volatile. We also have mages and pillars. So we're going to hit this, and then we'll pop our salt now and start brewing up. And we have a volatile. I could have brought this volatile here somewhere else, but I didn't. We want to drink the sand fuse now to cure the poison. I didn't want to cure the poison right away because it wasn't like game breaking, I guess. Now we are on wave 8, right? So getting pretty deep in. Everything that's hitting me now is melee. These shamans are going to spawn a bunch of stuff and then hit me with mage, but right now they're spawning stuff. Right, and I'm getting hit in 3 directions with melee. So I want to pray melee here. Just kill the shamans, we'll kill the mage, and then that way everything is on the same attack style. And we'll kill this curse too, because I don't think it'll spawn the next wave until I kill one more thing. And so we'll kill this cursed. The next wave we're going to get 2 more cursed, and that's going to be like right now. Right, and we get this shaman too. So we're going to kill the shaman. We have a bunch of melee guys on us and a thrower, right? So our priority right now is probably to kill this thrower so that again we only have 1 attack style attacking us. Again, Ancients would be really nice here because I wouldn't have to worry. And let me mute that for now until we get out of this room because it's kind of really loud and it probably just totally cut over the top of my own audio. Right here, because I don't have AoE, chins, or anything like that, we are going to kill all these thralls before we go to the next wave so I don't have to worry about being totally just bum rushed by all these guys. I do believe that the next wave is the last one, so that is good. And kill all these thralls first, take care of pillars. Then we'll put our magic gear on here. I'm going to kill the curse baboons first because it's going to make it easier to bring the volatiles around the room from the next wave without getting poisoned, right? So we're going to kill those guys, and then we'll kill these guys, may as well. We'll drink another sip of Restore, got vents, use this. Now we just look where the volatiles are, so there's 1 volatile there, and I might be able to kind of do that, right? And now we have this other volatile who I just blocked behind the pillar. We'll bring him over here, pray melee, and he just finished everything off. And I didn't mean to get hit by him there. I don't know why my guy just stopped moving, but it is what it is. We still have 5 minutes on salts, which should be enough for Baba. We're going to brew all the way back up, and then we're going to drink our super restores. Something I forgot to mention too is that on Akka we didn't have any invocations, so I didn't go over the invocations. But Baba, we do have some invocations, and they're probably the ones that are going to be the most noticeable. But they're like, don't worry, they're all really simple. The first one is that there's going to be bananas on the ground throughout the room, and you basically can't step on them. But that being said, I never pay attention to them, and I also never get hit by them. So I don't know if that's just luck or what. I've done like 200 runs. I've never had an issue with the bananas. The other thing that he does is he has a wider shockwave when he's attacking you. This is important to know, but it's not that hard to dodge. All of his attacks, like he's going to do like a slam and then rocks, and then a slam and then rocks, and then a slam and then rocks, right? So all you got to know is that he's going to do one attack after the other attack, and it's going to be like that the whole raid, right? And then we have Mind the Gap, which is basically you can't be in the middle of the room. So here we go. Here's the first slam. It has a much larger radius. So all I'm looking for is for Baba to kind of either glitch out his attack animation or for like a shadow to appear on the ground, right? And once I see that, I know that I'm good to move, and you just run away from Baba and you stand here. Now, because I have Mind the Gap on and you don't want to be in the middle of the room, I'm going to get rid of this boulder that's in the middle of the room so that I don't have to worry about potentially getting chance later on in the run by not having a boulder to stand at, right? So this next throw, I have this boulder right here. Here's the slam again. Slam, boulder, slam, boulder, slam, boulder, right? So this next throw, I have this boulder here. My health is getting kind of low, but I'm not panicking yet. He's going to throw the boulder. He's kind of hacking me up, I am not going to lie. Here's another shockwave. You do want to absolutely die. I almost just died to Mind the Gap. And that is why, you know, you don't click Baba when he's doing stuff. You just let him do what he's doing. And you should be good. Now this is the boulder skip. If you're halfway up the room, you hit the boulder. You run up here. Now because I'm all the way up here, it gives me time to restore my prayer. These hit harder the more prayer I'm missing, the sarcophagus energy, now that it's open. So that's just something to keep in mind. That is an invocation I turned on. But basically, it's nothing to worry about if you just avoid the sarcophaguses, right? So the sarcophaguses right now for me, there's one here and there's one there, right? So obviously I have to stand here for both boulders because I get one boulder here, and I have one boulder there, and my next boulder is kind of in the same location. Right, so I kind of want to avoid the area and then just get there when the boulder's thrown because I don't want to get hit by this sarcophagus energy. And that is just, you know, numero uno here. So he just threw the boulder. Now we're going to move over here so that we avoid taking damage. He always does a slam after some of the boulders, so you always have to pay attention and look out. Hopefully we get this boulder right here. It's further up. It's fine. I'm getting kind of low on health here, but Baba should phase. Here's another slam. I was late moving on that one, but I'm still fine. Baba's going to jump right here, and that will clean up the monkeys, but the sarcophaguses are still going to be shooting, right? So right here, we just want to, again, make sure we're brewed up. Hit this boulder. I might not one-shot this because I'm brewed down. Yep, it's good I paid attention to that. I'll hit this one. And you can't boulder skip if the boulders are too far apart, so that is something to keep in mind. Oh, I forgot I was still brewed down. And I guess I can just sit back here and tank this. I have plenty of brews. I just need to be careful on or I have plenty of restores. I don't have a lot of brews, so we're gonna let Baba kind of path back here. And the reason why is because there's no sarcophagus is shooting energy at it. Well, I guess there is. I can kite Baba back over here. Stand by this. He might do a shockwave right after this, so we just have to pay attention to that. I only have 3 sips of brew left, so don't want to get hit by this smash. That's the number one thing. If you're not red Xing, just do not get hit by the smash, and you will always be fine. You can see right here, I could get chanced out of a run, I guess, by monkeys and the sarcophagus energy, but it's looking like it'll probably, hopefully, be a kill. Maybe. Here is another slam, and again, just run diagonally or whatever, and you'll get out of it. And there's the floor slam, which is part of the red X technique. Really not hitting him here, but again, hopefully it's fine. There we go. There's another slam, and again, you can always tell when he's going to use the slam because his animation will glitch out and he'll change. So yeah, there's Baba. The fight is done. Always make sure your prayers are turned off. I'm going to turn the noise back on for wardens. But yeah, that's literally all the supplies, and that's what the average run is going to look like right here if you don't have the yellow keris. The yellow keris really changes things and makes some things easier. So that is something just to keep in mind. Now we took power earlier, so right now we want life for sure. We're going to keep this one dose of brew, but we do not need restores, and that's like a for certain thing. We don't need restores at all. We're going to make sure our inventory is good in terms of our switches. Put this down here. We can kind of move the Dragon Dagger up as well as the Keris Partisan, and then we'll open our raid supplies. We're going to pull out Ambrosias, Crystal Scarabs. Let's see, we'll put the Ambrosias at the very bottom of the inventory as well as the Crystal Scarabs. I don't really use these until the end of the fight. I try not to use them at all. But with that being said, I try to have them in my inventory so I don't have to worry about it later. So right now, we have like 3 brews, 2 restores, whatever you feel comfortable with putting in your bag. It's going to be different for everyone. Now we're on the last part of Wardens, and we're going to soak the left side, I believe. Yeah, I'll be better off soaking the left side. And we'll drink this 1 sip of brew. This is what I kept it for, was to actually drink before the fight, and then I can salt to actually get my stats back up, and then we'll begin. And the brew is going to help me soak some damage here, and then I can spec too if I want, hopefully, get some damage out. I meant to have my piety on. That would help. But we're just going to soak this for a little bit. This should be fine. Without Ancient Haste, this is pretty easy. And it's not that bad. But with Ancient Haste, especially with this gear setup, minimal gear, minimal stats, this fight becomes near impossible. So just something to keep in mind. Also, sound really helps on this fight. And the reason why is because a lot of Warden's phase 2 attacks you can do based off of sound. Like I could honestly put a blindfold on and do phase 2 Wardens. I'm not even lying. Like that might sound cocky and arrogant, but I really could. The magic in range attacks make sounds way before they actually have the animation go off, and so it makes it kind of predictable and kind of easy. Now this right here, this is like what can actually kill you. Are these orbs, getting hit by too many of them. It's not like the damage is, insane or anything. But this is another reason why we bring 6 brews into the raid, is because you ideally want to have like a sip or 2 going into this last fight, because you are going to use a lot of supplies right here. This is where a lot of the supplies go into. You can see I'm not hitting this thing. Still has 150 health left. I'm hoping for some good hits here. I'm hoping this is the last set of orbs I get. That would be very ideal, right? For this to be the last set of orbs, because they're really trucking through me. And we can spec again just to hopefully hit, and we're not going to hit, and that kind of sucks, but it is what it is again. And right here, hopefully I can finish it. Please finish it. Okay. I might take the damage from this, but hopefully I don't. And we start off with Mage, and we're going to pop some... Well, I'm not going to use a Crystal Scarab yet. Let's do this, and right here, it's just important to hit every prayer and dodge the mechanics, and that's about all there is to it. you know, it sounds easy. It's easier said than done for sure for a lot of people. But this guy typically attacks with mage first. You put on mage, and then every time you hear that little cha-ching sound, that's a range attack. I'm not going to mess around here and try to do anything funky trying to dodge these. I'm just going to go along with it, pray, dodge, focus on surviving here and not necessarily hitting the boss, especially during the windmill pattern or just any pattern you're not comfortable with. It's always better to focus on damage, right? Now this guy, every time on this fight that I start getting low health, or not low health, but below like a green health bar, I tend to brew. And the reason why I do it is just so that I'm never in, like right there. I missed that prayer and excuse me, wow. I missed that prayer entirely there. And yeah, it could have been a lot worse than what it was if I was stacked out and lower health, right? Now right here, I'm going to spec it 5 times, then try to get one extra cheeky hit in. So there's 4, 5, and then we can get one extra hit with the D-sword, and it should be a bit higher, yeah, only by 1. But now we're on range, right? And we'll pray this, and then we drink nectar and turn on eagle eye or whatever it is. Drink this, and then really helps too to pull out the rest of our brews here, because we are going to need them, probably going to exactly use them. That pattern is pretty easy to skip. It's really hard to mess up skipping that one there. And here we go. Here's another windmill pattern. And we still have liquid adrenaline going here, or at least we should. So right here, you just dump every single spec you have into the boss. I will not two-phase it right here. I can guarantee you guys that. Also, something to keep in mind, 36 is what I hit wearing like full bandos and all of that, you know, fancy gear setup. So definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, if I got one more special and had like a BGS or something, I would have been good there. Now right here, I don't have my gear on, so we're just going to focus on hitting the prayers first, and then dodging this entangle thing. And then we're going to use some brews and dodge these skulls, right? And there are, you know, techniques to dodge the damage from these skulls, running into them and stuff, but we'll just play it safe. You'll never get like 4 skulls that are all next to each other and that are impossible to dodge, right? So just keep that in mind. And you don't want to be on this middle line, because if you get that pattern, you will take damage. And that's what I was talking about right there, that middle line. And I knew I missed that one too. That's just bad. Alright, well, now we are in the last phase of Ordnance. So we'll spec this down. We don't have to spec it down. I could have just, you know, regularly done it. But right here is one where you want to make sure your bags are good and you have everything out that you need. I don't have any brews left, so right here what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 sips, put myself at over full, and then just rely on not making any mistakes here, right? So, and then we'll start moving. And this is overclock too. It is much faster than normal, but you don't lose any DPS, so it's not actually that bad. And we'll throw on the Barracks Place Curse, so we get the prayer bonus here. And then this is where I start popping my Crystal Scarabs, so I can just move without worrying. Although if you're in a group, you can use your restores, because you will restore your teammates and all sorts of cool stuff like that. So just something to keep in mind. We still have 20 seconds on salts, because I don't plan on, well, we'll brew again here, and hopefully it restores me back up. If not, I'll salt immediately. I don't know the restore timer on the salts. Yeah, it didn't restore me, it doesn't look like. So we'll pop the other salt. Hopefully the fight doesn't take 8 minutes, but you know, it's always possible that it could. Alright, well that's annoying. I lagged there. And right here, like I said, just, you know, once you get in the rhythm, it's pretty easy. And I think his defense gets lowered here after the skulls, so the first part always takes the longest, or at least it feels like it takes the longest. We're just going to keep hitting Warden here. Boom. Basically, I mean, there's not much to say here. Oh my gosh, don't DC again. What is going on? That is annoying. Like, it's nice that I can adjust and recoup from it, because I know how many attacks are between each tick, but that was annoying. I just DC'd twice. I might actually die to that because I don't have any more brews. Zebek's first attack is usually magic here, so we can just pray magic, whatever. We'll be fine. I always say pray magi, I don't know. Don't know why I say that, but we'll pop another scarab. I don't really have to, but I want to. I'm gonna dump one of these specs in right now just so I don't waste them, but I didn't even hit. The Dragon Sword spec is good because it has increased accuracy and damage, so I think damage. Definitely increased accuracy though. As long as I have the 2 full ambrosias, I should be good in the last phase, which we're coming up on soon here. I still have 2 scarabs, so I'm going to pop another one because my prayer's getting low again. And the last one, like I probably won't even use the last sip of scarab because I have ambrosia, right? And as soon as I get in the last phase, I'm going to pop an ambrosia relatively quick. But I guess it is possible I might have to use that scarab. We'll see here. Depends on the DPS I'm pumping out. Not really the most impressive DPS right now, I'm not going to lie. And here we go. Now we are in pretty much... Ooh, he just got the dragon limbs. Congrats to him. Alright, so we get a boulder drop. We always start a tile to the right so we can move left just in case the timing's off with the slam. And then we get back in rotation and we're about to head into the last phase here as soon as I hit him like one more time. Pop the scarab just to ensure that we are max prayer, just in case I don't have to ambrosia at all. And then as soon as we phase him, which I think is at like 75 health, we are going to pop a liquid adrenaline and dump our D-sword specs into him. You don't have to do this, I'm just pretty sure to guarantee a better outcome if I do it this way. Or I could just miss every single one. I guess that is an option too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and that is what TOA 150 with no stats, no gear looks like. And that's why I say it's really important to have ambrosias going into that last phase to have 4 total sips, is because, like, for me on average in the last phase, I tend to use every single sip. Let's be disappointed with the white light. Um, but yeah, it's white light. Anyways, yeah, I saw the key in the chest. Pet, 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 pet. Give me the pet. No pet. Unfortunate. What is this loot? That is not 250k in loot. That is like 5k in loot. Um, anyways, so yeah, I mean that's a 150 TOA, no gear. Boss invocations, no walk the path, no insanity, no gear, no stats, right? And I got the archer invocation. I have no idea. Dealt the most range damage. I don't know if that means most of my damage came from range. I don't know what that means. I was meleeing 90% of the raid. Akka, Baba, Kefri, Wardens. So I don't know how I got the archer title. Unless I was meant to be doing chambers and it was meant to give me a TiVo. Anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys would like to see more, definitely like, subscribe, follow for more. Let me know in the comments any feedback. If you guys have questions, concerns, or just any comments in general, I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good one. And yeah, hopefully I didn't leave anything out.